time to get in front of some more prospects. You ready? This is how you do it. Let me show you how right now. Hey there, Enterprisers, what's good? It's Jason Ligo here again, and in this video, I want to talk to you about how to get in front of more prospects. That's right, how to get in front of more prospects, all right? This is something that we all need. We all need to bring in more leads for our business, and I don't care what your business is, right? Whether you're doing a traditional brick and mortar thing, or maybe you're doing the online thing with a variety of different arenas, right? MLM, network marketing, traditional business, it really doesn't matter. In this day and age, however, especially with the online age, there's no reason as to why we cannot bring in more prospects, and we need to bring in more prospects. However, if you're like a lot of people, when you first get started, you're excited to go ahead and make your top prospect list, usually consisting of friends or family, and then after that, you're kind of stuck in a rut, right? Maybe you even receive some coaching from your upline or mentors or leadership or what have you to then start training you in terms of finding new people and talking to 4 people a day or 5 people a day or whatever it is, approaching people you don't know, and it just gets uncomfortable, it's tedious, and it's just not one of those things that you can really build a sustainable business on, at least not in my opinion. While that stuff works initially, it is not the way to go in the long run. And so that brings us to what we're focusing on today, which I think is the way to go about things, and that is rather than finding prospects, really attracting prospects to come to you, and that way you know that you are dealing with people who essentially at some level or another, or in some form or fashion, are at least raising their hands and saying, yes, I want to be talked to, and I even, if you're good enough, or if I trust you, I'm even willing to let you sell me to the point where I pull out my credit card and pay you money, or sign up to join your team, or whatever the case is. In this video, let me go ahead and give you 3 simple but very powerful and effective ways for you to go ahead and start attracting more prospects into your business. This is how we want to do it. Let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 is person. That's right, it's very simply put, focus on the person. And when I say person, I'm specifically referring to your ideal candidate, right? This is your ideal audience. What does that person look like? I know it sounds kind of weird, but the reality is if you look at this exercise, I can promise you that the biggest and the best names in entrepreneurs and businesses go through this very exercise where they really try to figure out who is their ideal audience, right? Their customer avatar sometimes is what they call it. And really what that comes down to is you're just thinking about, well, what does this person look like? Who is my ideal person? It's one of those things where it maybe even seems a little counterintuitive because when you first get started in business, you want to sell everybody, right? You want sales from everyone. You just want money to come in. You don't care who gives it to you. While that sounds like it's the way to go, it's really, really not, especially if you want to build a long, sustainable business that is built on high profits, consistent revenue, little churn, little return, that kind of thing. So focus on what that person looks like, right? And this really is your target market. So when you're having a high-level business conversation with yourself, your team, you can really think about, okay, who are we targeting? This is so important to get dialed in. You want to figure out who is this person. So go ahead and take the time to think about who they are, where they are, what they're thinking about, where they're hanging out at, what problems are keeping them up at night, right? And when I do this in my challenges and in my coaching, I actually make all of my coaching students give this person a name, just for fun. Really, I want them to start imagining this person so strongly that it becomes real to them, right? So you might call this person Bob or Joe or Jane or whatever you have it. And when you're constructing what they look like and who they are and why they would want to do business with you, right? Again, what problems are they wondering about? And so for the sake of this example, if you're in the network marketing space and the company and the product that you're kind of promoting out there has to do with a weight loss product, right? Now you can start thinking, okay, what person wants a weight loss product? Do you see how already that makes it different and more powerful and more effective than you just randomly approaching friends and family? Who says they're even in the market, right? I cannot stand when someone just calls you out of the blue and says, hey, let me go ahead and book a meeting with you, or, can we schedule a time? I want to show you something. And they start talking to you like you are interested, like you have any need to be in this, right? And I'm sad to say that this type of activity still exists, even at some of the top and highest levels. I've had some people that I have the most respect for, reach out to me all the time, and they're like, hey, give me the name and the number of so-and-so, or let me talk to you. I want to see if you qualify for my special program. And it's like, well, why am I interested even in your program? Who says I want to qualify for your program? And they'll respond with something like, well, I want to make sure that you can save money, or I can help you make money, or I can, help you save some money on your insurance, or I can, help you lose weight. And it's like, well, I didn't really think I needed those things, and I certainly didn't want to do it from you. And it's like, well, I'm not even in the market for that right now. And if I was in the market, I wouldn't even consider talking to you about it because I didn't know that you were in it. But if I did, I might approach you, but now you've already breached the trust and the credibility factor because you're randomly approaching me. Do you know what I mean? So you want to get to where you're not that awkward person, right? And this is why a lot of people, when it comes to prospecting, especially who belong in these other marketing groups, they ruin a lot of relationships, right? Make sure that you're focusing in on your target market. And that way you can go to people who want to do business with you rather than trying to convert people and just pitch people randomly, right? I cannot stand. Now, obviously me being a salesperson and a business person, a lot of the times I will listen to their pitch, but I kind of let them know up front, listen, I'll listen to your pitch. I'll listen to you, your presentation. That way you can, polish it and it can help you get better. But I'm not really your market. And if I'm not your market, I'm not gonna, buy anything. So you can look at this one of two ways. Either you can look at this a way for you to polish your pitch, or you're just wasting your time, right? So anyway, that goes a long way to say what I'm saying here. But just understand, you wanna focus on the person. Once you know who the person is, then we can go after them. And I show you that in the next step. Number 2 is platform. The platform on which you can get the attention of said prospect, right? Once you know who your person is, now you know where you can go to start attracting them. And when I say platform, again, we're doing this in the context of the online business because that's where we're at today. Everything is online, right? And in this day and time, you also have this wonderful thing called social media. You've got all these online social platforms that make it literally almost impossible for you to not get anything out there, right? And I can't stress this enough. We are blessed to live in this day and time. Before, if you wanted to go ahead and get started in any type of online or home-based business, you literally had to do these archaic techniques. And then after that, you had to pay a lot of money to go out and get information or invest in some tools in order to penetrate the market. Now, it still makes sense to do some of those things, especially as you scale and as you get more, big and successful in your business and you want to go ahead and expand. But the reality is you don't need any of that to go ahead and get started. With social media, that is completely free. You now have an outlet to get your messaging out into the world and for the world and the prospects therein to find you and your voice. So make sure you're using it wisely. One example is Facebook. If you go onto Facebook, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of Facebook groups out there. And those Facebook groups represent all different types of interests and ideals, things that people are interested in, and they're congregating in these groups to discuss, exchange ideas, and talk about these things. And if you look at what those are, in my opinion, those are communities, but more importantly, those are basically fishing holes that you can go out there and fish in those ponds because the topics that they're talking about are already at the top of their mind. They're literally exchanging ideas daily, right? Talking about these things. These are topics of discussion. And so what would it mean if you as a person of value went in there and started answering questions and providing value to the community? And if you play your cards right, next thing you know, you've got someone who's willing to receive a recommendation from you, i.e. buy your product or join your team. It really can be that simple. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. There takes some steps and a lot of this can take some time. But again, you can go online. I'm just using Facebook for this example, but the reality is you can do this with Instagram and TikTok and all these things that are out there. If you go out there and post valuable content that is meant to attract the ears and the eyes of those who are looking for it, then what does it mean when someone comes across it and the timing is just right? Sometimes the timing doesn't have to be right. But again, if you are fishing in the right holes, your messaging is going to mean a lot more to these people as opposed to you knocking on the door of some stranger. Focus on the platform. And I would recommend in the beginning just picking one or two. And realistically, maybe even one just to get started. Get good at one thing and then you can put stuff out there. You can cross-pollinate it in other ponds. But pick a platform and just start going wild. Post valuable content. And over time, you can even get better in this craft. This is where things like using keywords and search optimization and proper hashtags and things like that. There's a lot of things that you can add to this equation. But if you know who your person is, now you can start posting stuff on Facebook and on other online platforms to attract them. And once the prospect and the sales messaging cross paths, a lot of good stuff can happen. Number 3 and finally is process, okay? Process. And when I say process, I'm referring to the process as in the sales process, right? Which really is a conglomerate of multi-processes, if you will, right? There's a process from taking your suspect to a prospect, and then from a prospect to a sale, and from a sale to more sales, right? We call that the sales process. Basically, they're a cold lead, and then over time, through indoctrination, through more valuable content, joining your community, coming into your sales sales funnel, into your world, if you will, and then transferring that and converting that into a sale. And so once you convert that into a sale, now you have what's called a customer, right? Someone who pays you for something is a customer. And they might even join your team if that's what you're doing, or ideally they come out to buy more and more things over time and buying things of higher value. Now you have what's called a client, right? And that's where you want to be. And so focus on this task. And in this function, this is where coming across as someone who has some skill and some credibility and marrying the two will become very, very effective for you. Because while at first you don't necessarily need anything to go ahead and get started and start making your first few sales and building your empire, the reality is you will over time. And so in that time process, you will also make your processes more and more robust and bigger. This is where using things like CRMs and sales funnels will come about. This is where establishing yourself more as a credibility figure by way of content explosion and having someone manage your social media platforms will come. This is where you start using tracking mechanisms in order to see what's going on with your leads and how many of those become sales and so on. Now, don't let any of this overwhelm you for now. You don't need this, okay? But you do want to focus in on your process. In other words, from the time that someone jumps into your funnel and finds you, what do you do? What journey do you take them on? What process do you take them through in order to change them from a lead into a paying customer? And that's what you really, really want to focus on. And the answer is not to just jam something down their throat. Sometimes you might need to educate them, right? And that's one of the most powerful things you can do, is drip content on them that really escalates in its level. As opposed to just being interesting stuff on the surface, now you're giving them educational pieces. And I find that the person who's most educated about what they're doing will make a better decision, i.e. a buying decision, right? And in their minds, they call them educated decisions, right? And so you are really empowering the person to buy something because they're doing it of their own accord, seeing the value that you provide. And that comes through the educational process. So consider those things as you're building this out. Again, don't let it overwhelm you. But if you focus on who your person is, and then focus on the platform so that you can attract them in, and then give them a solid process to follow, where the end result equals a paying customer, I'm telling you what, you have the basis and the foundation for a huge, thriving business. Congratulations, you've done it. There you have it, my friends. Listen, I hope that this was helpful to you. Quick and dirty as per usual, but hopefully this is getting your mind thinking now about how you can bring in more prospects. Never mind going out and pounding the pavement. Figure out the way to bring people in, put these things to the test, focus on these things, and I promise you, you will have more prospects knocking on your door than you'll know what to do with in no time flat. You know what to do now. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any more hot new content that I got coming down the pipe just for you. This is Jason Ligo with Always Enterprise. I'll see you next time. Take care.